Welcome to You Make the Difference. I'm Wanda Walker, and I have as my guest today Michelle Thompson. Michelle is with First Choice Women's Center in LaGrange, and it's the former Pregnancy Care Center. Welcome,
Sure.
Michelle.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You are so welcome. And let's talk about the history of the First Choice Women's Center and how it got started, and then would move into what it's about and the fundraiser that you're having, so everybody will know and can take part.
Okay. From what I know, I've been there 6 years myself, but from what I know about the history is in the 80s, after abortion was legalized in 1973, there were, across the country, people were starting to start pregnancy centers to be able to give women alternatives to abortion or to talk and educate them about abortion. And so there was a group of concerned Christians in our community that just started meeting and praying, and they ended up starting the center in 1987.
Okay, and it was started as the Pregnancy Care Center, and then you had a name change. And tell us what was behind the name change.
Okay, well, we changed our name 2 years ago. August was 2 years ago, to First Choice Women's Center. The reason why we changed our name is at the time we were changing our services. We hired a registered nurse, Debbie Hughes, to perform ultrasounds, which are limited ultrasounds. And we wanted a new image with the new services in the community. And we picked First Choice for a couple of reasons. One is if a woman finds herself in an unplanned pregnancy, we wanted her for our center to be her first place that she went when she finds herself in an unplanned pregnancy. And also, we want to put the woman first. Our ministry is a woman-focused ministry. A lot of people think we're just about the baby, but the baby isn't even there at that point. So we want to make it about the woman.
Yes, and the ultrasounds, that's a very important part of your ministry, isn't it?
Oh, yes.
Tell me about the effectiveness of a woman seeing the ultrasound.
Okay, well, I'll give you a little history about us adding ultrasounds. It was a movement also across the country through pregnancy centers to add ultrasound services. And back in the 80s when centers were started, and when our center was started, most of them were started around that same time or early 90s. Back then, a free pregnancy test was a big draw to get women to come to your center if they thought they were pregnant.
Yes.
But over the years, I don't know if you know this, but you can actually get a pregnancy test at the Dollar Tree.
Yes.
So you can get the test for $1. And so even though we were still performing free pregnancy tests, we were still drawing women for that. Years back, there was a little decline in the number of women that we were serving. And so we wanted to be able to reach more women to offer our services and things that we offer them. So across the country, people started adding ultrasound services, and so we followed the model that other centers were using, and we have national organizations that helped us do everything above reproach,
Yes.
legally and everything, all the trainings that were provided that we needed and everything. So ultrasound is a big draw to get more women. And since we added ultrasound, we've seen somewhere between 55-65% more women now that we added ultrasound services.
Yes, and seeing the ultrasound really makes the baby real, right?
That's right.
Yes.
Yes. I'll give you a case. We had a man and woman, a married couple that were there, and they were considering an abortion, and they were real interested if the baby had fingers. And typically we scan or offer an ultrasound. And one thing I need to add that we haven't talked about is all of our services are free and confidential too.
Yes.
So when I say draw for an ultrasound, that's a free ultrasound. But anyway, we had this couple that was at the center, and they were real interested in knowing if the baby had fingers. Well, she was a little further along. We can scan as early as 6 weeks, but she was a little further along, maybe 10 or 11 weeks, and the little baby was waving its hand at her, and you could see the fingers, just exactly there,
Wow.
perfectly there.
That is perfect. And you're about to have a fundraiser, aren't you?
Yes, ma'am.
And your fundraiser is on Thursday?
It's on Thursday, October 17th at Delavant on Main Street. We've actually changed the location this year. For the past few years, we've had it at First Baptist Church. This year, we just wanted to change it up a little bit, do a little something different, see if we maybe could get more people there. So, and I think a lot of people still haven't experienced the neatness and fun of Delavant, so we're just hoping that may help us draw a bigger crowd this year.
Yes, and if people want to come to that, how can they get in touch with you?
If people want to come, just simply call the center at 706-884-3833. You can ask for me, Michelle, or the office manager can talk to you about it, but everybody is welcome to come. And one thing about our and this is a fundraising dinner, so at the end of the evening, there is an opportunity to support us financially, but there is not a cost to attend. What we do is we get sponsors or underwriters for the event. So all our board is currently working on that, getting all the sponsorship. But all the expenses are paid for that night, including the dinner and everything. So you just come, you don't buy tables or tickets, you just come. But we do want you to know that there is an opportunity. You're not obligated to do so, but there is an opportunity to support us at the end of the evening.
But they do need to let you know ahead of time that they
Yes.
are coming.
Yes, we have reserved seating.
Right.
Yes.
And then if they can't remember the phone number, it's in the phone book under First Choice Women's Center.
It is.
And it's,
Or if you look it up on First Choice Women's Center, the Pregnancy Center LaGrange, all those should be able to get you to us on the internet also.
that's right. Now let's talk about the services that you offer at the medical center.
Yes.
Okay, so if I come in and I want an ultrasound or I want a pregnancy test, walk me through what happens.
Okay. Well, we do take walk-ins. We prefer that they make appointments because we have 4 staff positions, but we're mainly staffed with trained volunteer peer counselors or client advocates. So if a woman thinks she might be pregnant, we would first start with a pregnancy test. And typically they would call ahead of time and make an appointment, or if they're a walk-in, they would be treated almost the same. But they would meet, they would fill out a little paperwork, and then they would meet with a peer counselor to talk to them about, what's going on in their life, just some different things. I mean, every interview leads a different way. And then our nurse would actually run the pregnancy test itself and get the results. And then at that point, if she is pregnant, we would educate her on the 3 options available to her, which include parenting, adoption, and abortion. In all 3 cases, we educate them about fetal development, and we would offer her a free ultrasound. If she is at least 6 weeks along, normally, unless we're already booked up scanning somebody else, a lot of times they can actually receive the ultrasound during the same visit. If we're too busy, then we would bring her back, a couple of days later. Or if she's too early, we would schedule her when she's far enough along to do the ultrasound. Our policy is they have to be 6 weeks.
Yes.
So, and the ultrasound itself, we check for 3 things. We check for intrauterine viability. I don't know if people know this, but around 25 to 30% of pregnancies end in miscarriage. So we want to make sure that it is a viable pregnancy. We check for gestational age to date the pregnancy and the baby, and then we check for heartbeat. So those are the 3 things that our registered nurse that's trained to do ultrasounds checks for.
Yes.
We are not to take the place of prenatal care. We typically would be the first ultrasound that a woman receives, and at that point, then our nurse educates her about healthy pregnancy and refers her for prenatal care. And we just refer to the local OB doctors in town.
But then you also support them through their pregnancy,
Yes.
is that right?
Yes.
And tell me some of the ways that you support them through that pregnancy.
Okay. We have what we call Earn While You Learn. It's the Earn While You Learn program, and it's a parenting and prenatal education program. So in order to participate, they first have to get prenatal care and bring us a form back that says that they are. It's really just an incentive for them to
Yes.
get it early on to make sure that they're taking care of them and their baby. Once they do that, we schedule them for an appointment, and that appointment would be with the same volunteer every week. So they would come at the same time every week, be there for approximately 45 minutes to an hour, and they go through a curriculum that we received a few years ago from the Junior Service League, and it has videos, lessons, and homework that go anywhere from educating them about the trimester that they're in, about what ultrasound does, eating healthy, getting rest, all kind of different things during the pregnancy, all the way up to toilet training, car seat safety, making sure that you have a good person to keep your baby when you're not around, and different things. And anybody that is pregnant, even if you did not come to our center for a pregnancy test or an ultrasound early on, can participate in that program. They just need to call us or come by to get the form that they need to get their doctor to sign. That you just have to be pregnant to enroll. Even if you're on into your pregnancy, you can still enroll. You just have to still be pregnant to enroll in that.
Yeah, and as you were talking about that, I was thinking about that is excellent information. And,
yes.
And for first-time mamas and even second-time mamas, I mean, you just really want to know all you can know, and that is just everything a mama needs to know, isn't it?
It's funny because I have 2 children, and when I do the program with a client, I mean, I learn stuff that I didn't know. I think sometimes the doctors or the nurses, and they're just so busy, but sometimes they just assume you know stuff that you really don't know. So and also with that curriculum, there is also a Bible study to go along with that, and so they are able to earn play money that we have called baby bucks. And depending on how many times they come, the homework, and the Bible study, they're able to earn play money to shop in our boutique, which is stocked with new and gently used baby items ranging from diapers, bottles, pacifiers, clothes, all kinds of different things. So if they start early in the program, they can earn almost everything that they need during that pregnancy.
That is great.
It is, and also for those of y'all out there that are watching the show, we are really in need of things for the baby boutique. Summer months tend to be your lower months for donations. I think people are just busy, but we are in need, and we take new and gently used clothes and items up to size 18 months.
Baby beds, everything, right?
We do not, we used to take baby beds. The only 2 things we don't take are cribs and car seats, and that's only because there are new safety regulations on both, and our national organization really recommends that we not distribute those anymore. There's just some liability that goes along with those.
Yes, and your organization doesn't just stay at the clinic.
Right.
You are out in the community a lot, and you also teach classes at different places. Tell us a little bit about what you do outside the clinic.
Well, we have a full-time abstinence coordinator, Carol Connor, and she, along with trained volunteers, are in the schools. We're approved with Troup County School System for 8th and 9th grade. During their health education curriculum, they coordinate it with the individual health teachers at the different schools, and they go in and teach a curriculum called weight training. It's spelled WAIT. It stands for Why Am I Tempted?
Yes.
And it is a curriculum that they use, and it's very interactive and fun and engaging for the students. It really talks about healthy relationships, the difference in how males and females think, goal setting. It does STD or sexually transmitted disease education. You know, it doesn't just say wait, don't have sex. It actually teaches them why they should wait.
Yes, and that's excellent information. You're also going to help with the teen maze.
That's right.
And tell us about what your part is in the teen maze.
Well, we help every year with the teen maze to fill slots with volunteers and different things like that. But we take a leadership type role. We have our absence coordinator is over some of the stations, and this year I have a new role. I'm actually in charge of plugging in all the volunteers into the different stations. And I know Jane was on here recently. I don't know when hers is airing, but we are still in need of volunteers for this year. It takes between 300 and 400 volunteers, I believe. And so that is the week of Halloween, on mainly on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of that week. I can't remember the exact dates, but it's the week of Halloween. And if you're interested in the community, if you could contact Jane Gannon-Sims at the health department, she has the forms and everything. You have to include a background check that goes to the sheriff's department, to volunteer with students, and then also a volunteer protocol.
That's right. And right now we have around 100 volunteers,
Yes,
right?
I think it's around 130 something volunteers. So we still, and we have to do them ahead of time to get all the background checks back in time. So it's never too soon. Please, if you want to do it now.
Yeah, that's right. And you also are in charge of like the first date, the second date, and
Yes.
is there another thing that you're?
Carol is in charge. Yes, she does the first date, second date, sexual experience, abstinence. I can't remember exactly what that was. It's like 3 stations in 2 different date settings, depending on what the children draw that they choose for
Yes.
that day. Yes.
Yes, and it's really nice that somebody with your expertise is able to put that part of the teen maze together
Right.
for the community.
Because even though you have scripts, sometimes the students have questions, so you want to know a little bit about the topic.
That's right. Now let's talk about your fundraiser again. All right, it is this year you're doing something different. You have contracted with the Great Turnaround, and
That's
tell us a
right.
little bit about that.
Okay, the Great Turnaround was actually started by Bruce Wilkinson, who is a famous author. He authored a few books. I think the most popular is The Prayer of Jabez. And I think the way it started is a few years ago, 1 or 2 pregnancy centers had asked him to come be their guest speaker at their fundraising banquet. And so he did that, and he raised an amazing amounts of money for them and helped solicit for volunteers for them during the banquet. And so he was so successful that he really felt that God was leading him to do more. I think he sort of says he takes more of a business approach because they know about fundraising.
Yeah.
I mean, we're running a pregnancy center, a ministry,
Yes.
a local ministry. We're not experts in fundraising and fundraising banquets. And so what he did was, for a year and a half or 2, he actually did majority of the speaking, and he wanted to continue on, but I think he has other obligations in his life and ministry that he has on his own. So he trained a circuit of, I think, maybe 5 to 10 speakers in how to do a banquet very similar to how he did. And so they provide us all kind of recommendations during the process of before the banquet, during the banquet, and after the banquet for follow-up and everything on how to raise the maximum amount of money. So this year we have a speaker, and he's actually, we're very fortunate he's coming from Atlanta. His name's Stephen Lester from the Atlanta area, and he's coming, and I haven't personally met Stephen yet, so it's going to be really a great evening, though. He has an awesome story himself, I believe, and I don't know a whole lot about it. I haven't seen The Great Turnaround. One of our board members has seen it 2 times, so we're really taking a leap of faith this year and doing something really bold.
Yes.
The title of the message that the people that come will hear that night is "Stand in the Gap," and I think it really tries to get our community to take ownership in helping our ministry. So it'll be really, really interesting and fun.
Yes, and I went and looked at some of the videos, and the first one I pulled up was of a pregnancy care center director saying, how she felt about the Great Turnaround, and she was very impressed. But I actually had met her, and so I was really surprised. Shalita Reed from
I bet Shalita.
yeah. And so I knew her, and I was like, wow, that's neat.
Now, where did you meet her?
At the Atlanta Transformation League.
Okay.
We've started an organization up there that's similar to Troop Transformation, and she serves on our board, and she's very
she's awesome.
Yeah, she is. So that was interesting to me. I mean, it's usually like you're going and you're looking up something and you don't know the people at all, but then it was the first one with Shalita, so that was very.
Shalita has a unique pregnancy center. She was planted. The national organization actually helped plant that pregnancy center in downtown Atlanta because they wanted to put it right there in the middle of the city. And so she was the first director. She's been there for a few years now, though, but she's great.
Yes, she is. All right, and then I know you've been doing this for a while, and so I want you to tell us about some of the experiences that you've had in the Pregnancy Care Center or First Choice Women's Center that have really impacted your life, things that make it all worthwhile for you to be there.
Well, anytime that we feel like we impact a woman's life or a woman that maybe was undecided on her decision and decides to choose life for her baby, I mean, that's always a wonderful moment for us. We all cheer, and we're very happy about that. But I'll just share a couple of stories maybe that come to my mind. And of course, I won't say names or anything, but we had one woman that came a few years ago, and this is before, and I didn't mention this earlier, but we're able to operate as a pregnancy help medical clinic under the license of Dr. Brett Bowie.
Yes.
He is our medical director. He is not in our center at all the time. He's got his own practice, but he reads our scans once a week and approves pretty much everything that we do there. But this was before we started scanning. We had a nurse to scan, but Dr. Bowie would come and scan some of our clients that we had. And we had a girl, and she was considering an abortion, and she was going to college at the time. The father of the baby, I think, was in the military. And so even though I think he was a really nice guy, it was really going to be difficult on her. She didn't have a lot of family support and didn't have a lot of financial support. So she was considering an abortion, and during the scan, of course, we have to have somebody in there to observe with the doctor or nurse, so there's always someone else in there, and a lot of times I get the opportunity to do that, which I love. But I was in there that day, and I happened to see what I thought was twins.
Oh,
but
wow.
Of course, I didn't say anything because, I'm not medical, so I just keep my mouth shut. But we were in there, and we saw what we thought was twins. And in my human mind, I was thinking, oh, my goodness, she thinks she can't handle one baby. She surely is not going to think that she can handle two. And so she left that day, and if they give us permission, we usually follow up, and everything. So I had called her a couple of times and maybe left messages, and she had never called me back. And so one day I thought, well, I'm going to call her one more time. If I don't get her, I won't call her again, because I didn't want her to think I was bugging her or something. And so so I called her, and I didn't get her, and I hung up, and right after that the phone rang. I think she had missed the call, but called me right back, and we started chatting, and I couldn't really get the feel, what she had decided to do. But she, on into the conversation, she shared with me that she was going to the doctor and that she had decided to parent the babies. And I was very happy about that, and I was telling her about the services that we offered. Well, later on, as I got to talk to her more, and she was coming for parenting classes and so forth, we started talking, and I said, well, the day that you came in there, and I was in there when we did the scan, and we saw that you were pregnant with twins, I said, I was really thinking that was, and she said, I was just thinking that I couldn't terminate one. I didn't want to terminate one. I surely couldn't terminate two.
Oh, wow.
So she has done very well. It hasn't been a perfect picture. I mean, it's been a little struggle for her. Job situations and stuff, but she's doing very well, so we're very happy about that. Her children are older now; they're a few years old now, but
yes.
But anyway, that was a great story. And then just one thing that and this isn't specific to a certain story, but we've seen this a few times. A lot of times when teenagers are going, and we're not a teen clinic, we see women of all ages.
Yes.
We recently had a woman give birth, 48 years old.
Wow.
That came to our center, doing great. Back at work here in LaGrange, she has a physical type job. She's back at work,
Yes.
doing great. But anyway, on teens, a lot of times they're having really difficult relationships with their parents, and if they turn up pregnant, they really think that maybe abortion is the answer and everything. But we have seen so many relationships mended through an unplanned pregnancy. It almost draws them and their, a lot of times, mother closer. And I'm thinking of a couple of cases in particular with some younger teen moms. It was just really difficult situations, and they're able to mend their relationships, and this girl's mature.
Yes.
And they just have done really, really well and just thriving really, really good, doing great in school, great goals for their
Yes.
life and everything.
Yes. Well, I know it's so important that y'all are there, because if you were a teenager and got pregnant, I would think it'd be very hard to tell your parents, and to have somebody to talk to that understands and loves you and can encourage you and help you through talking to your parents, giving you the courage to do that.
Right.
And kind of,
Encouraging them
them to do that. is so very helpful during that time. And I know I get your newsletter, and I see in there the comments that the clients make every month about your staff and how appreciative they are of the loving environment, the safe environment, and the non-judgmental environment. And so, you know, none of us need to come into an environment that's judgmental, and it's so wonderful to be in that situation and come in and be accepted and be loved and cherished, and your baby loved and cherished, and think that, you know, it's wonderful that there's life there. And so I just appreciate you being there and being there in the community for people who need you.
Well, we just really want a woman to be informed before she makes the decision about her pregnancy, with truthful information on the options available to her. And one thing I didn't mention earlier, because I think I got a little sidetracked, but for every woman that comes for a pregnancy test, we also share the gospel with them, and we pray with them. And speaking of comments, we have numerous women say, I never had anybody pray for me before. And so that's really moving to us, and it's really sort of sad too that they've never had anybody pray over them before. So but thank you. It really is a great place to work. Lots of blessings for those of us that work and volunteer there. And if you're interested in volunteering, y'all contact us too. We'll get you a volunteer packet. Okay,
now let's just say the details of the fundraiser again.
Do you want me to say
Yes.
Thursday, October 17th, 6:30 to 9. Well, seating begins at 6:30. Program starts at 7 to 9 o'clock. We'll try our best not to get you out of there exactly at 9. We don't like to go over. You can vouch for that. We usually don't go over. And it's free, so just call the center, 706-884-3833. And we would love to have you. The more, the merrier.
Yes, and I just want to say that you've truly made a difference in our community, and we appreciate you for it, Michelle.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Wanda.
Yes, and thank you for watching You Make the Difference. We'll see you next week.